So I'm in what is probably one of the strangest and most interesting rooms in our house. This room is a room that's full of old things. I mean, I've got a clock that we used to have in our house back when I lived in San Diego. We've got boxes and boxes of stuff that actually, let me be honest, I just can't let go of. We've even got this cow skull here, which is a very old heirloom of mine. This I actually found on a missions trip when I was in Mexico one time, back when I was in high school. And somehow I've dragged that with me all the way across country a couple times, and it's still with me. And Melanie keeps saying, "Can we get rid of the cow skull yet?" But I have not been able to get rid of it. And I think that's sometimes how things are. I mean, we love new things. At least I know I love new things, but I also hold on to old things. And sometimes that holding on to old things is a difficult thing because it fills up rooms and it fills up storage areas and all that kind of stuff. And I know eventually I need to let go of that. Well, thinking of that reminded me of a verse, and I know I've used this verse before, but it's probably one of my favorite passages of scripture. It comes from Isaiah 43, and it says this: "Do not remember the former things or consider the things of old. I am about to bring a new thing. Now it will spring forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make this way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert." You know, this idea of God bringing forward new things is an exciting thing, but there's another word for this, and it's a word that I think a lot of people struggle with, and it's the word change. I mean, we all experience change. We know we need to experience changes, but change is hard for a lot of us. And when things change, or when we need to let go of things, it's difficult to do that. And yet that's kind of what Isaiah is trying to tell the people is don't hold on to those old things that might get in the way of the new things. So as I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about how much we enjoy new things, new possibilities, all that kind of thing, I needed a better word than change. And so I recognize that really a similar word to change is transformation. That there is this idea that when something changes, it becomes something new. It's transformed. I mean, we see it in nature, you know, the caterpillar transforming into the butterfly. But what about for us? Are we ready to transform? Are we ready to change? Well, all of that reminded me of a passage that, again, is another one of my favorite passages. It comes from Paul's letter to the church in Rome. Probably one of Paul's last letters, the last one that we probably have a copy of, at least at this point. But towards the end of this, Paul says this. He says, "I appeal to you, therefore, brothers and sisters, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds, so that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect." I mean, that whole line, I mean, it taps into what Isaiah was saying. You know, I'm going to be doing new things. You're going to be transformed. You're going to become new. And it seemed to me that Paul, when he was writing to that early church, he desperately needed them to embrace the new thing that God was doing. I mean, Jesus had talked about this. He talked about God bringing new things. He talked about the new kingdom that was all around us and coming. And Paul took up that baton and he said, yes, we have got to allow ourselves to be transformed. Yes, you may want to hold on to some old things, but we've got to go through this transformation. We're ready to receive the new things. And so as Paul is writing to the church in Rome, he knows that they have to be transformed if they are going to do what Jesus has called them to do, which means transformation of the world, right? And so again, not long after, just like a couple verses after he shared that passage about being transformed by the renewing of your minds, he says this, and it's kind of like this is how you do it now. He says, "Let love be genuine, hate what is evil, hold fast to what is good, love one another with mutual affection, Outdo one another in showing of honor. Do not lag in zeal. Be ardent in spirit. Serve the Lord. Rejoice in hope. Be patient in suffering. Persevere in prayer. Contribute to the needs of the saints. Extend hospitality to strangers. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse them. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be haughty, but associated with the lowly. Do not claim to be wiser than you are. Do not repay anyone evil for evil, but take thought for what is noble in the sight of all. If it is possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. You know, I know that's a big, long section of scripture. Go back and look at it. Romans chapter 12, beginning at verse 9 through about verse 18 there. But this is what Paul is basically saying. If you're going to be transformed, if you're going to work at the transformation of the world, it might mean letting go of some old things, but perhaps more importantly, it might be embracing those things that God is bringing you in order to be transformed so that we can transform the world around us. Again, we tend to not like change, but if we don't change, if we don't transform into the people that God has called us to be, really, what's the point? God's all about transforming us and making us new. That's the road that we're on.